Welcome to Creator Hardware, where we talk about the hardware and software to make online content. And today we're talking about what's the right camera for your content. All right, everybody wants the expensive, super cool, mirrorless cinema cameras, but the fact of the matter is it may not be right for your content. You can start your channel and actually film most of your stuff with your cell phone. You don't have to run out and buy a massively expensive camera. You can go and use your cell phone for a lot of the stuff that can make content. In fact, I talk about it a little bit in another video, but Adam Savage from Tested, aka Mythbusters alum, is right now filming his channel with his cell phone, his iPhone, and content's good. Why? Because these cameras are really good. But let's say you want to expand your abilities, what do you go with? Now, a lot of the questions I get is, should I get a GoPro? Now, GoPro is not a good camera. It is an okay camera for a lot of niche shots, overhead shots, putting it on a suction cup, putting it on the side of a car for an action shot, doing that kind of stuff. Yes, it can very much work as a camera. When it comes as your main camera, it is a very poor choice. Like I said, you can use a GoPro for a lot of secondary shots and it will work very well for those. But as your main camera, there's much better options out there. The audio drivers in these is horrendous, even on the newer models. And so you're gonna have to have a secondary recording device for your audio unless you want not great audio. And if you don't know, audio is actually more important than video. You can have video quality, but you have poor audio, people are gonna bail on your video. If it's poppy, cracky, annoying, people will bail. So now let's look at the other two big categories. Now, I am not gonna talk about cinema cameras. Cinema cameras really are not relevant to online content. They're just not. They're much better suited for other genres. So, you know, if you're doing independent movies, yeah, cinema camera. Online content, not really relevant. You don't need 8K red cameras to film content on YouTube because, quite frankly, they compress it enough that quality is not going to be any different. The two main categories we're going to really discuss is camcorders, which is actually a camera that is underutilized. In a lot of situations, this is the better choice. And then, of course, the fancy mirrorless DSLR style cameras. Now, if you're shooting tutorials, stuff where you're showing you working on something, a camcorder is a much better option. If you look at a mirrorless camera, the reason they want a mirrorless camera is so they can blur out the background. They have just the focus on the talking head. When you're talking about a camcorder, it's designed, well, actually for video. It's a video camera, and it'll allow you to actually show everything you need to see. If you watched a mirrorless camera / cinema camera record in tight areas, you'll sit there and see them. If they're doing it handheld, they'll go focus, focus while they're trying to get that shot on what they're trying to show, because it's not well designed for that kind of shot. Whereas a camcorder is designed, well, precisely for that. Is to show as much of the picture in focus as possible. So what happens when you're sitting there trying to get a shot, take a second and it focuses on what you want to focus. You know, if you want to zoom in, you can zoom in. It has a built-in lens, obviously, but they're primarily video cameras. So they're a great option for most online content creators. The quality of the video is not gonna be as high as, say, a mirrorless camera. It's just not. The megapixels are usually lower unless you go really high end. The quality is gonna be a little lower. Their camera companies aren't investing as much into camcorders as, well, mirrorless. But for most content creators that are gonna show tutorials and that kind of stuff, you're much better off with a camcorder. Just works better for that kind of video content. I know multiple automotive YouTubers and that's their primary camera for showing fixing cars. Because guess what? It works better. Now for a talking head type video, I use an A6600 or an A6400. And mirrorless cameras are really good at talking head A-cams because, well, that's kind of what they are meant for. They're meant for pointing at somebody, using the autofocus that's included, hopefully, and just shooting a talking head. Now they're also good for streaming cameras and that kind of content as well. All right, so the last category we're gonna talk about is vlogging. Now vlogging, you know, you're gonna have a camera like this and you're gonna be showing yourself and, you know, you have to be really careful on the choices you make. Now this Sony A6600 that I'm using here doesn't do too bad, but you start moving it a bunch because of, well, it's not the greatest as far as in-body stabilization, but it does okay. And as you can see how my lights are set up, it does good, then it doesn't do good. But that's the point of vlogging, is you really need to look at a camera that will work for your situation. You want a camera that has really good in-body image stabilization or in lens stabilization. Vlogging cameras are unique in that you're walking around with a camera, so the choices for those, obviously you're probably going to go with a mirrorless DSLR type camera, but that's the most important factor, is looking for one with the best in-body or lens stabilization, that because you're walking, talking, and if your camera's doing this, it makes it rather uncomfortable for anybody to watch it. So, and as you grow your channel, you may find you need multiple types of cameras. If you notice, that's why I have multiple cameras. The GoPro fits in a niche. It makes a really good camera to put in a weird spot and get that shot that you need, but it really doesn't do great anywhere else. It is really a niche camera. So when it comes to, you know, doing tutorials, camcorder, really look at a camcorder. The quality is good enough, especially on YouTube, and it really is going to be a good option. Remember, it's a video camera. It's designed to shoot video, so there's no limits on how long you can shoot. There's no limits. Autofocus on those is great. I mean, you know, they're all focused on video. With mirrorless cameras and DSLRs, you have to worry about record time. Do they limit it? You know, nothing worse. Believe me, the GoPro is a perfect example of that. On 4K, it has a file limit size. So you're in the middle of a video shoot and it just shuts off, restarts the video, and it always misses the most important shot you did. And it will always do that. It's the rule of video. When something shuts down, it's gonna miss the shot you need. So that is definitely a camera I don't recommend except for niche applications. DSLs and mirrorless cameras are great for this type of shot. Static shot, you don't have anybody behind the camera watching it. You're looking at your screen as you're talking to make sure you're not clipping audio or any of that kind of stuff. It's also important that you actually do a lot of research on your camera. You're spending a lot of money on something that's gonna be, well, something you're gonna use for a while. If you're going with a DSLR mirrorless camera, look at the lens selection. Another YouTuber likes to say you marry the lenses, you borrow the bodies, and it's true. One of the reasons why I went from an A6400 to an A6600 is so I could use the same lenses. So always something to be considerate, but that's my opinions on what type of cameras you should use for your kind of content. As always, thanks for watching. This is Creator Hardware.